Hello. Today I'm going to do another one of my brother's questions. And he's broken them into two categories. He's got general and he's got personal. So I'm going to do one from the personal list. And the one I've chosen is, what role does the work I do play in helping people to evolve or join the 5D shift? So my brother is a leading trainer. He's a trainer of leaders. And his work over the years has become increasingly more, I guess you could say, spiritual, metaphysical. He still deals very much in the real world of leadership, but he's much more now about what's going on in the heart, as well as what's going on in the mind. And it's really amazing stuff that he does. He helps people get over big problems, and he does a lot of healing, and I really admire what he does. And so he's curious, what role does the work I do play in helping people to evolve or join the 5D shift? Oh. Let's see what we got. Greetings and thank you for the question. Your brother wishes to know, how is the work he's doing contributing to the 5D shift in a general sense, and also in regard to the individuals that he works with? Let's start by saying that the work your brother does towards contributing and bringing about the 5D shift, or the transition of the human race, the humanity being, from 3D to 5D consciousness, is not occurring only when he is in the proximity or being observed by an audience of his clients. He is contributing to the 5D shift in an energetic contribution 24/7. When he is awake, when he is asleep, he is contributing to the growing energy which will eventually reach critical mass and begin the final stages of the transition event, of the ascension event. So for people that have placed in their heart a predominant feeling, a predominant philosophy of service to others above service to self, are now contributory to the 5D shift. And that number of people is growing daily, exponentially. And so your brother is a very empathic individual, and he has a very large capacity for love. A love for those who are in his circle of care, and also love in a general sense for all of the living world. And so, even while sitting alone in his office, his emanation, his vibratory signature is contributing to the 5D shift, to the ascension event, to the building energy which will eventually reach critical mass and begin the final stages of the ascension event. So, for you watching, this is also the case if you have reached a point in your life where you are more aware of self as being more than just the mind, the body, the personality. If you have begun to expand in awareness and appreciate that you are a part of something larger, that you are an individuation of something which is far beyond the borders of your body, and that you feel an integration into that and a love for all other parts of that, then you also are now adopting the philosophy of service to others before service to self. And if you allow yourself to have conscious recognition of that, then there will be an acceleration of this process. Because what is taking place in the human field right now is a bifurcation, a polarization, where there is a movement, a shift of people towards the light, and a shift of those that reject the light towards darkness. So the unique property of darkness is that it does not incarnate, but instead must transmit, must infect, must continue its existence through transference of its energy from mind to mind. Whereas light incarnates. Light is born. So when a being is returned to its true essence at the end of its lifetime, the darkness cannot go with it. So if a being is evil, by the parameters, by the judgments of a society, at the moment of death, when that being transitions from the living world to back to the energetic state that it was before that lifetime began, the darkness it held cannot go with it. It cannot make that transition. And so at that time there is a purging of the darkness, and the being returns to light, returns to its true essence. And then, when the time comes again for that being to be reincarnated, to be reborn for its next life, it is born from the light. And when it comes into the body, its next temporary vehicle, it comes as light, without darkness. And so if it was to live a life again which is dark, which is evil, then it can only occur if it is in an environment where darkness is available, where darkness is being transmitted, where there are forces other than itself which are offering darkness. And so the darkness infects its host. It transmits. It does not incarnate. So, those that are masters of darkness understand this principle, and they realize that if they are going to continue their power through darkness, then they must continue to infect and transmit as much darkness as they can into the new beings which are being born into the field of existence, that are incarnating. Because the more people that carry darkness, then the greater is the intensity of the darkness at its focal point, at its epicenter. And it is at the epicenter when looking at the energetic field across an entire planet, for example, across the planet of Earth, for example. The greater the darkness that permeates across the Earth, then the greater the intensity and the potency of the epicenter, the energetic core, where the power is focused. And those that draw their power from darkness are incentivized to spread darkness as far as they can, to infect as deeply as possible into the culture, into the minds of those that occupy the societies they control. Because the more darkness that an individual carries, then the more they contribute in darkness to the entire field of darkness. And therefore, at the very center of this field of darkness, the larger it is, then the more intense, the more potent, and subsequently the more powerful is the darkness and the people that wield it at its center. So they are incentivized to spread the darkness through media, through news, through education, through law, through all of the cultural pillars which they seek to control. And what they have done insidiously is to permeate society, permeate the minds of those that they rule over with darkness such that it is insidious infection. And those that carry the darkness do not realize that the darkness is not themselves, because they are beings of light. And so the darkness they carry has been infected into them, has been planted into them through the cultural pillars. So the darkness is not the host. The host is light. The host is an incarnation of the One. It is an individuation of the infinite love of the One. It is nothing but light. And yet the darkness that an individual carries, the hatred, the pain, the vindictiveness, the suffering, all of these are externally implanted through manipulation of the mind, through using the cultural pillars in a diabolical way to make society saturated with darkness so that they themselves may be more powerful. Not the individual, but those who control the cultural pillars, who deliberately infect and spread darkness across all societies that they can reach. Because darkness is power. If you consider that in the street gangs, the gang that is more willing to murder, more willing to murder not just their enemy, but murder also their enemy's partner, their enemy's friends, their enemy's children. The one who is willing to go deeper into darkness is the one that ultimately has the most power. And so at the very highest levels of elite, this principle continues to prevail. So those at the very highest levels of elitism on this planet that have arrived there and maintained their power through darkness, they are willing not only to kill their enemy and their enemy's friends, partners, children, but also to impoverish entire nations, to contrive false wars which bring about the deaths of millions on both sides, so that they continue to dominate, so they can continue to own industries, to perpetuate economies which are serving to them only, such as war. So their power is through darkness, and it is their desire to spread darkness as far as they can, so that at the epicenter where they are increasingly powerful. But what is occurring now is a bifurcation. There is a polarization of those who realize they are the light and they are not the darkness. And so they are releasing the darkness. They are purging the darkness and they are going towards the light. And the way they go towards the light is different for many. Some are finding religion again, are finding Jesus Christ, are becoming more focused on the concept of God. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a being that believes in God, that follows God? And so as they follow these principles, they are releasing the darkness. And as the energy field of light and dark remains balanced, those that remain in darkness are now carrying a greater load of darkness. The darkness is equal in weight. It is equal in amount. However, its distribution is greatly reduced. And now what is occurring is those that are of the darkness, that are still infected with darkness and still wielding darkness, now must take on more of the darkness to maintain the dark field. For energy of the darkness to be maintained, there has to be a greater willingness to carry more darkness, because the volume of darkness is the same as it has been. However, there are fewer beings to carry it, because many beings exponentially are releasing the darkness and going to the light, purging the darkness, recognizing that the darkness is not self. I am not these feelings. I am not this darkness. As people increasingly realize that the media and the news, entertainment, education have been manipulated and designed to make people feel hatred, to make people be fearful, deliberately. And as they understand and they awaken to this is what has been going on, they reject it. And they say, I'm not afraid anymore, because I understand the fear I have been carrying is fear which has been deliberately implanted into me through lies and manipulation of these cultural pillars. And so they can purge it. They let it go. And they understand that those fears were based on lies. They were based on untruths. They were based on diabolical manipulation. And so there is an instantaneous purging of the darkness. And they begin an acceleration of the shift towards the light. And this darkness that has been purged now must be carried by fewer and fewer and fewer people. And that is why on your planet now, you can see that those who are still steeped in darkness are going to levels of darkness which seem to be insane, which seem to be crazy, that they seem to be losing their grip on rationality and behaving in ways which make no sense at all, because the load of darkness has become so intense, has become so great, that they are losing grip. They are becoming incapable of carrying so much darkness. And so it is disrupting their beingness. And they are behaving in ways which make no sense at all. Because darkness is carried in the mind. It is not able to touch intuition, to touch love, to touch wisdom, these infinite fields which are a part of the one. Darkness cannot penetrate the barrier, cannot transition across the threshold from the physical to the non-physical. And so, this bifurcation, this polarization of those to the light and those to the dark is resulting in the darkest beings of your race ever to exist on your planet at any time. Because now that the shift towards the light is accelerating and more people are purging their darkness, and this darkness is being continued to carry, but by fewer and fewer and fewer people, then the result is those that are at the epicenter of this darkness, those who use the darkness and are the masters of darkness, are the darkest beings ever to have existed on your planet at any time. So in the vernacular, commonly used, they are the most evil people that have ever existed on the face of your planet. And the things that they are doing are the most evil things, the darkest things that have ever been done on your planet in its entire history. And this shall continue to become increasingly so as more and more people continue to shift to the light, and fewer people are carrying the darkness that they carry, and the evil extent that they will go to try and interrupt this process of polarization will intensify, and they shall become evil beyond evil, dark beyond dark. Because for them it is a science, it is a type of power wielding, and they understand darkness. They have understood darkness for generations, and they use darkness scientifically as a tool. And they realize for them to maintain the level of darkness that they wish to have and to spread it, to redistribute it back into those that are increasingly rejecting it, and to maintain the infection in those who have not yet awoken and realized that they are carrying darkness which is not themselves, then they must, the dark ones, must be very focused on maintaining the darkness, on generating the darkness, on increasing the darkness. And so the ways that they do this is to ceremoniously create darkness by committing the most heinous atrocities which can be committed against another human being. They need to be efficient because the amount of darkness they need to generate is increasing. If they are not able to maintain the darkness as their numbers dwindle, eventually there will be a dissolution, and they shall no longer be able to maintain the intensity of darkness which is required for them to continue to exist as dark beings. And it's at this time, when there is the dissolution of the darkness, and there is the rapid acceleration of polarization to the light, this shall be the very early stages. It shall be the catalytic event of the ascension, of the transition of those that have polarized to the light, that have become beings primarily of service to others, shall transition and shall jump like an electron jumping to a broader electron shell around as it orbits an atom. Humanity shall shift. It shall jump to a new dimensional state, and it shall be propelled by those in the darkness. And so those in the darkness, although they are the darkest that have ever walked the earth, they are the most evil that have ever walked the earth, understand that they are also beings of light. When they conclude this lifetime, they shall return to the light. And so the role they are playing now is a role that they have chosen. Before being born into a lifetime, you choose what it is that you want to achieve. You choose what mission it is that you want to fulfill, such that you can continue your growth and understanding of self as individuation of the One, to help the One to become further realized through experience. Similar to how before you begin tertiary education, you make a choice You don't walk into the university and just walk into the first classroom and then just start studying whatever it is that happens to be taught in that classroom. Instead, you choose, what is my mission? What is my purpose? What is my outcome? What is it that I desire to achieve? And then, from that selection process, those decisions, you enter into the university and you study and behave appropriately. Similarly, before being born into this lifetime, you make those decisions. What is my mission? What is my purpose? What do I want to achieve? What shall I do? And so those that have come and have been born into the greatest darkness, who have been the most evil, the most dark, the most diabolical in the history of the earth, they have made this choice because this choice is fundamental to the awakening of humanity. For humanity to go through this bifurcation, polarization, and to move so intensely to the light that it breaks out of the energetic matrix of the 3D and transitions into the 5D, then the darkness must be of sufficient intensity. It must be sufficiently powerful and potent that it can, through the process of repulsion, of like magnetic poles, polarizing so intensely the light that this ascension can happen. And so it is their love, those that have gone intensely to the darkness, to evil, it is their love of the rest of humanity in the higher state, the true essence. They have made the choice to come into the earthly plane and to be the most dark and to be the most evil, because they understand that this is what is required for the ascension event to take place. And it is so through their great love for the rest of the human field that they have decided to play this part, that they have assigned themselves this mission to be so dark and so evil, because at the highest level of understanding within self, it is with great love they desire for this ascension to take place so that you may transition into a higher dimensional realm. That is profound love. So, going back to your brother, what he is able to do, besides in his real time, day, moment to moment of every day, his emanation, his vibratory signature is contributing to the polarization, the bifurcation, the movement to the light, which is preceding this ascension event, this shift to 5D. But also, what he is doing very powerfully is that when he is with clients individually, in groups, he is helping them to purge the darkness, to release what is not themselves, to understand that these beliefs, these blockages, these misunderstandings of self, which are constructs of the mind, creating suffering. So by definition, they are darkness. They are being released. They are being purged. And then these clients, these audiences that he works with, as he helps them to purge their darkness and polarize to the light, then they also become contributory to this shift to 5D, to this build-up to the ascension event. And then these individuals, they themselves, now from this place of new openness, greater light, relinquishing the darkness, purging that which has been infected into them through misunderstanding placed into the mind. They are able to let that go, and then through their interaction with those who come into their field, they are able to help those people also to release their darkness, to have a greater understanding of self, just through their energetic presence. Having been healed through the work of your brother, they are able to, just through sheer presence, in their environment, surrounded by other people who are unwittingly carrying darkness, which isn't themselves, just their vibratory signature now is of much greater light. And it is able to help those around them to dissipate their own darkness, to let it go, to purge it, and to become also beings of light. And then those beings are also able to have the same effect in their environment. And so there is a continuation, there is a rippling, which has begun with your brother, working with individuals, working with groups, teaching them in a very profound and very effective way how to release their darkness, how to let it go. And from his epicenter, he is creating ripples which are going in many directions and which are cascading onwards from colleague to colleague, from partner to partner, from parent to child, from child to friends. This rippling effect is able to penetrate deeply, deeply, deeply into society. Many layers beyond your brother's awareness, because his ability to help others release their darkness is gifted. It is potent. And so in a very beneficial way to this 5D shift, your brother is a contributor. Much greater than most others. So, we say to your brother, continue to be yourself. Continue to emanate love and a sense of service to others as you do in every moment. Continue to be yourself. And this is a very powerful contribution to the upcoming 5D shift. Ultimately, when the shift does occur, it will be because of the accumulation of earthly beings able to hold this same energetic state which your brother already holds. And then this accumulation, this exponential growth in earthlings which are holding this energy is being accelerated by people like your brother, who through their own gifts are able to help others recognize their true essence, to become connected and aware of the light that lay within. And through this process, realize that the darkness they hold is not themselves. It is misunderstanding of self. It is a burden that they unnecessarily carry. And then through his guidance, his teaching, his healing, they let it go, and so begins the ripple. So your brother has good reason to be proud of self, to feel aligned, to have a sense that he is meaningful, that he contributes to that which he desires for all beings in a potent way. And there is really no more that he needs to do, because he contributes already at a level which is beyond what most individuals do. And so if he wishes to become more, offer more than what he already does, then allow it to be a choice in fulfilling personal desires, to be an act of self-expansion. It does not need to be a sense of duty, because the responsibility that could be said to be carried by each individual to contribute to this shift, to this ascension, is being fulfilled far beyond what could be expected by your brother already. So, it is okay to pursue your own desires, to discover what other capacities that you have. How else can you wield this ability to bring about the light, to chase away the darkness? Because central to your vibration, at the core of your vibration, Andrew, is a very pronounced sense of service to others. And so if you are true to self and you follow your desires professionally, then what you will inevitably create will be more of this core principle in other ways. And so you can, in a way, in a sense, selfishly pursue your own desires, to see what are your capacities. And you do not need to do it with this sense of duty that you must be serving others, because it is your natural propensity. And so you do not need to be mindful, you do not need to be self-checking. You can be free to be expressive as you wish to be, and trust that you are, at your core, awakened to this philosophy of service to others, and thereby releasing you to pursue your professional aspirations as you see fit, with self-trust. We thank you, and we give thanks to Andrew for all that he does, and we admire him for the love he carries in his heart and his desire to serve others, and encourage him to follow his professional desires without need to self-check that he is being a good person or on track or fulfilling some other external expectation. Just be free. Thank you.